This is Dianne Andrews in Black and White. The issues you don't want to talk about. The arts and entertainment you need to know. And now here's your host, Dianne Andrews.
Welcome to Dianne Andrews in Black and White, and I'm your host, Dianne Andrews. We had a couple of weeks ago a very, I call it emotional, call it passionate, emotional. I thought the chief of police was going to have to pull his gun out to tell you, to stop some of the debate that was going on do black, blue, white lives matter, especially do black lives matter to black people. About 2 months ago, I had a show on Do Black Lives Matter, and I said all lives matter, and Silky Slim, a regular guest on here, you know, we had a debate about that, and then we got to the point of trying to get some reverence on to see what they're doing in the black community. So last week, that show aired talking about what they're doing in the black community. And if you missed that, you better sure go back to your YouTube and watch it, because it really got heated. Again, I thought the chief of police was on that, Chief Davitt, and I thought he was gonna have to pull his gun out. But today we're continuing that, but with somewhat solutions. What are we doing more in the black community to really stop the hatred of blue, of the policeman, and to really make black people, again, 49% of black guys are in prison or been jailed by the time they're 23 years old. 44% of Hispanics and 22% of white boys. So I think there's a problem in America, but blacks really are committing black genocide if we look at it, with 6,000 to 8,000 of us being killed at each other's hands every year from black guys, and 250 by policemen. That's all we see on the news. With me today, I have the Southern University alumni president, Preston Castile, who's been on our show before. This is, I think, your third or fourth time here, Preston. He works with us on some of our Walking While Black shows. We did an MLK tribute. All of that is out on YouTube. And Preston is also an ex-judge, and he's an attorney. But again, his major, I guess, role on being on here is you're the president of the Southern University Alumni Foundation.
Great.
And that's a free job.
Absolutely.
And that, okay. And on to my right, I have Reverend Pitcher. Reverend Pitcher is from Los Angeles, California, specifically the area of Watts.
W-A-T-T-S.
W-A-T-T-S. Okay, so he comes with some swagger. You know how the people are over in Watts, but he got his BA from Southern University, and went on to theology school, I think, down in New Orleans. So he is a reverend. You majored in sociology?
Social work.
Social work. I had Dr. Thomas Durant on earlier today. Yeah, and he's a PhD in sociology. And next to him, I have Kevin Allen. I was at a boxing match about, what was it, September the 18th, I think, wasn't it? Yeah, when his son, Henry Babyface, turned pro in the featherweight division.
Yes, ma'am.
And I didn't know there were 12 divisions. In fact, later this month I'm doing some shows on how a lot of kids, black, white, and brown, are finding a purpose through boxing. Sometimes I think I need to put a boxing glove on, and I may on that show, and but put a punching bag in here somewhere where I can just knock it out and knock out some of the frustrations during the day, I guess. But Kevin has done so much to help the youth in the community. He's really lived, I guess, with your grandmother, and you lived up on the Midwest for several years, and you're a boxer yourself, aren't you, Kevin?
Yeah, so I was four-time national champion, won a silver medal in the '88 Olympic trials, and I just wanted to give back to the community, and I heard you saying the black community, but it's just poor people in general.
Right.
Black, white, gray, or blue.
Well, I said black, white, and brown are in through your gym. I said that all kids, all kids are what we're trying to help. We just have a more serious problem right now, black genocide and genocide.
37 national champions, 4 girl national champions, and I'm in love with what I do.
Right. I can tell that from talking. Kevin and I have been talking ever since September the 19th, I think, about doing the show on boxing that's going to be done. Then when I saw his path that he's taken, and how your grandfather was assassinated by the Ku Klux Klan in Mississippi when you were a young child, right?
Well, really, actually it was before.
You weren't born even.
No. I was born in '68. My grandfather got assassinated in '64. If you go through the Civil Rights Memorial, they got Dr. King, Medgar Evers, Rosa Parks, then a fellow named Lewis Allen. And that's my grandfather, civil rights worker. He owned his own business back then. And I was listening and to one of your other shows with the pastors and all, and if my father, Henry Allen, who's my son's named after, if he can rebuild a business, then I know the pastor should be able to get together and create jobs in the community. Buy some land, because you have to be able to feed yourself. Buy some tractors, come together and say, look here, man, we're going to do this here in this community, and this is what we're going to do. Talk with a lawyer, somebody, let's sit down, get an agenda. And I don't give a dog whether you black, white, gray, or blue, but let's get an agenda and let's come together and come up out of this here. Because you have certain people that try to keep you down, and those are the rich, whether they're black, white, gray, blue, whatever.
So you're saying it's a socioeconomic thing, it's not a color thing. What do you think of that, Preston?
Well, you said the rich. I think at the end of the day, it is about poor people. It's about helping all people, whether they're black, white, brown, whatever. And I think this show, again, is about solutions. And we've come here to talk about solutions. I talk certainly from the perspective of the Southern University Alumni Federation and Southern University. And so what we're doing at Southern is that we're reaching down to help kids, black folks, white folks of all ages. And in fact, from a solution perspective, in addition to having our university, we've got a laboratory school. We reach kids from 3 and 4 years old all the way through high school, all the way up to the PhD level. In fact, it's been so successful, Diane, here in Baton Rouge, that we're expanding our laboratory school program to offer solutions in New Orleans, in Shreveport.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a Southern University laboratory school all throughout the state.
Because Southern has campuses on
it
on
has
those 3
campuses.
cities.
It's a 5-campus system, and we're all over. We're in Baton Rouge, we're in New Orleans, we're in Shreveport, we've got a law school, we've got an ag center. So we're offering those real solutions. But the idea, again, is we don't want to wait until some young man or some young woman becomes 17 or 18 years old. It's hard at that point. And you find them when they're 17 and 18 years old. But if you can catch them when they're 3 years old, when they're 4 years old, they're 5 years old,
Now tell me
you
the
can change their
economic
lives.
status of the kids that you are having in the lab. Is it every
that's
strata?
That's a great question, because our laboratory school is intended to be this elite school, and that we want the top kids. But at the same time, we want to ensure that we serve all children. So this endeavor that we're going after is to reach all kids. Poor
That's
kids,
what I'm happy
rich
to hear,
kids,
because I
and
knew it wasn't elite
That's
school.
exactly what we're doing, is that we're going after all kids, the most disadvantaged kids. And in fact, the whole mission of Southern University is to help the disadvantaged children as much as possible. In fact, 135 years ago, that's why Southern University was founded 15 years after slavery ended.
Are we running for president of Southern on the show also?
Not running for president of Southern. I'm national president of the Alumni Federation, and that is enough for me. But I will tell you that this is a remarkable institution doing some fantastic things.
It's got a lot of good people out here that have gone to Southern. Dr. Pritchard, you went to Southern, so tell me what are your solutions?
I was reading a book last night about the 3 civil rights workers who were killed in Philadelphia, and your grandfather's name is in that book.
Really, last night?
Last night.
Yeah, my grandfather's name is.
I've never heard of him before.
The name of the book is Free at Last.
Okay.
He's in another book called Coming of Age in Mississippi. He's in another book called Black Like Me. And the main book that's really good that you should read is called The COINTELs of the FBI, How They Conspired to Kill Prominent Black Men.
Like Medgar Evers and people like that over there. They did the movie on him.
Time.
Yeah.
But
now, I heard his name a lot. You heard Medgar Evers, but I
right. Him and Medgar Evers were.
He was one of the unsung heroes of the civil rights.
Like T.G. Jemison was down here in Baton Rouge. He was unsung a lot.
Sure.
What just basically what I want to add to this is that I heard that the confrontation,
dialogue,
for a better word, that they had.
The heated dialogue.
Our problem has always been we would put more emphasis on our differences than on our commonalities.
Right.
I think if they would have sit down and talked about the things they have in common and come to a common agreement on what needs to be done to solve the problems, the program would have been better served.
Well, you know what? I've seen people, I watch after
the
the show, and people who even debate after the show usually continue talking and come to some consensus, but I didn't see that after that show. There was no talking.
I disagree.
Was it talking after?
There was a lot of conversation that happened after that show.
Oh, did I didn't see
and it went on for a long time.
Here, Reverend Robertson?
Well, I'm not sure about Reverend Robertson.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Reverend Robertson.
How do you come to a point where you can work together, where you can find solutions? And we had homecoming a couple of weeks ago at Southern University. We had a unification breakfast, prayer breakfast with ministers and people from the community and elected officials coming together. So it's good to have a dialogue. So that passion was important.
But you got to know this here. This here has to be said. You got to know that some people not going to want to come together. And immediately, when I heard the dialogue, he said, "You putting a blanket here." He took it personal. can't take
it personally.
Leave that where it's at.
Yeah, those two I didn't see talking after.
And they did.
I gotta say this. The reason why some of them take it personal because they don't want it to change because they are lining their pockets. And the majority of them are. Because
next time, Kevin, I'm going to have you on the show with Reverend Robinson and Silky.
Yeah, because and the majority of them are. The reason why the majority of them are, because how long have we been in the church now and nothing has changed? So if nothing has changed.
I will say this. I asked a big church minister here about 5 years ago. I said, why don't the black ministers come together and do something as a large coalition to help in the black ghettos and the black communities? And he told me because we all want to be king of our own mountain. He did tell me that.
And that's true. That's the biggest problem. As a pastor, speaking, as a pastor.
And a community activist, just your biggest claim on your resume, lifetime community activist.
Lifetime.
Yes.
The problem is we have to get rid of our egos. The bottom line is getting the job done. I could care less who gets the credit.
Right.
Get the job done. We talk about this big minister, this big preacher. There's no big me, no little you. It's just all of us. We're in this together. Right. Unless you have skin in the game.
I'm in a large church. He has an immense church, the person I asked.
Part of the problem is that I think we see little hills and we want to be king of the hill. The reality is that we've got a huge mountain, though. And if we think about it, that we've got a mountain to overcome.
That's right. That's right.
And if we all come together, we can conquer the mountain as opposed to just being on top of our little hill. And so I hope that.
But how do you change those attitudes among? So some of what Silky said was definitely true. The attitudes among some of the ministers.
But those are the negatives, though. But and guys, we're here today to talk about.
But let me ask this question: do you think it's pervasive, or it's a small percent? Being a minister, do you think it's a small percentage or a large percentage who want to be king of the mountain?
I'll answer it this way: every pastor is not a leader. Every politician is not a leader. We put the label leader on them. You can be a pastor without being a leader. You can be a leader without being a pastor. And yes, they are in the majority, those that are just not getting involved for whatever reason.
That's the majority.
It's the majority.
Mm-hmm.
The way you
but
have
aren't
to,
they
the way
serving
you have
their
to look
flock,
at this
though?
thing,
I mean, you do something. You work as a coach with boxers. Everybody's got their deal that they're working on, and they're helping in their own way. I don't think that's a negative.
Preston, how many ministers do you know driving Bentleys and owning jets? I can name 4 right now that own jets
those are
around
the
this area.
high-profile ones. There are a lot of ministers that have small congregations and small flocks, and we have ministries in our own different ways. Yours is boxing, mine is education, but it's again, that's talking about the negatives. We can point out. Look, there are 4 or 5 people that are doing something that's not good.
How do you?
But that's not what he's saying, Preston. He says the majority, not 4 or 5.
It is.
And the reason I say the majority, I'm speaking from experience. When we talk about the high unemployment rate among our people, when we talk about the high dropout rate among our people, when we talk about the high suspension, expulsion, teenage pregnancies, okay, and we say, I call a meeting and say, okay, let's get together, let's have a summit. Let's have a summit in one of the largest churches. Bring all the people together, bring the sociologists from Southern University, from LSU, the social workers, the psychologists. Let's get together and find a solution to our problems. I call for a meeting, 3 show up.
No, wait a minute. There's Together Baton Rouge, there's Together Louisiana.
No, I'm talking about black pastors. I'm not talking about Together Baton Rouge. I'm not talking about the Ministerial Alliance. People coming into our community doing for us what we should be doing for ourselves.
So what's the solution?
That's right. We have to solve this problem, not white people.
We need to about just white people, but if we're going to, if we're
should be the leader in solving this problem.
Why not do that? What's the solution to the problem?
Here's one of the
solutions.
Didn't he try to pull people together, Preston?
The solution.
Let's try again.
Let's do it again.
Yeah, I agree. Don't stop with one.
You can't look at it. People look at really and truly. Go read The Art of War. Every pastor should read that. Everybody should read it because really and truly, you got to look at it from that aspect.
It is a war. We are in a war right now, in a way.
We are at war in America. So at any doggone rate, you have to read that book.
Yeah.
If a person doesn't want to be a part of it and they always got something bad to say, you need to be out of here. We don't need your help. I'm just being honest with you. If you're not with it, because everybody's not going to agree, especially in the black community, because it's called Willie Lynch syndrome is what it's called. But however, no, if we're going to get together, and we're gonna do something collectively, we need to start looking at land.
As Reverend Pritchard is president of the SCLC, which we know the Southern Christian Leadership Conference was started by Martin Luther King with ministers.
Right.
Why can't we do
it's
something like that now?
But it's deeper than that. You know, I just came back from Boston a couple of weeks ago and learned so much more about the Revolutionary War, and that what made this country great is that we learned to come together and we educated our folks. And you know, we've got Harvard and MIT, all these great educational institutions, and I think that will change a whole lot in this country.
But we got to get them to the institution, though, Preston.
I hear you, and that's why we're
adding. Stop them having
and that's why
babies
we're
at
having
12.
laboratory schools. That's why we're going to do everything
Everybody
that we can.
not gonna be in a- everybody
Who
not gonna-
influences the black community more than anyone every Sunday? That is that minister.
The minister. He is the
Yeah, but we-
freest
and I
black
agree.
man in America.
I agree with that, but I'm a lawyer, and I think that likewise we have some autonomy. But I do think that the
I think
academic
all is needed.
institutions. I agree.
Yeah,
it
all
is
is needed.
all
We're gonna have
needed.
to
We
do
all need
this.
to work together.
We're going to have to
But
do
you know,
this.
you got to.
You helped about 500 youth, black and some black, white girls, everything, I think you said, to get off the streets, to get off marijuana, to learn how to box. Tell me, why do you think that's been successful, Kevin?
being successful because when I get them off the street, the boxing is just a hook.
Right.
When I get them off the street, I deal with them psychologically. I'm at the school with them. I make sure they get their grades up. You can't go and fight in Las Vegas or go to Silver Gloves up there in Little Rock if your grades are not up. And I also
They start
know,
feeling a self-worth when they work with you.
well, not
you
only that,
instill that in them?
not only the self-worth, you're getting the psychological of what fights to fight and what fights not worth fighting. Every fight not worth fighting. When
Like
to talk and when to do
how
this
we
here.
talk to police. You were going to talk to Brother Rashid. I was saying, who's been on this show before. When you look at the Nation of Islam Muslim, the Black Muslim Society, you don't ever see them on jail for rape, for killing, for anything. But he told me, and even when they get stopped by police, and we talked about this on another show, they teach them how to talk to the police with respect.
Sure. Exactly.
And that we need to start teaching more.
I said,
And they do that at the Church of the Nation of Islam.
It sounds like what you're saying is that the reverend here, the coach here, the educational institutions, that we've got to come together
Right.
and develop
I am.
that value system.
We do.
That we've got to develop that sort of code that these other cultures have in terms of a value system that will help, our people as much as possible.
Because at the end of the day, we're not enemies.
Right.
That's
We're
right.
We
working
have
together.
more in common
Right.
than we have
Separates.
Absolutely.
That's right.
That is
That's
so
right.
true.
Right. And not
But
only-
I don't think everybody looks at it like that,
well,
Preston.
not only
I
that
really
there-
don't.
I know, but it starts
Economically.
here.
That's
It
right.
certainly
And we can
starts here.
start, and that's what this show, and that's why I want to do something called Solutions. Now, one thing we need to do is try to help start your gym. Breck stopped the funding or took the building away from
Right.
you, Kevin,
Yeah.
where you were training, that's in Pride, right? Where
Right,
you were
right,
training the
right,
youth.
right.
So let's talk about that a minute.
get
I think
that
Reverend
back.
Pritchard, you
Gotta
thought it
get
may be
that
something
back.
to do, and you may as a lawyer be able to help. I don't know, Preston. Tell him what happened.
Well, what happened was we was in the building. I furnished the boxing ring, $14,000. I furnished the bags. I furnished the gloves. I furnished the uniforms. I furnished the transportation. I furnished the insurance, $1 million worth of insurance on the building. I furnished the insurance for each one of the children, whether their parents
And
bought
just
their
from your own personal money, you got grants. It's a 501c3.
Well, no, I didn't get a grant for none of that. I have a 501c3, but I don't know nothing about writing grants.
Okay.
All I asked Breck to do is is for the building. And that's Monday through Thursday from 4:30 to 6:30. That's 8 hours a week. Because on Fridays, I rub them down and just let them go. You know what I'm saying? Because we fight on Saturdays. And they cut that out. I helped a lot of children in
How
that
many
gym.
years were you open?
In that gym, I was open maybe 2 years.
And did they give you a reason why they terminated it?
They're just saying that if they can't get monies for the building being there, then I told her, I said, well, I'm a 501c3 and also I'm a taxpayer.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And the building's not being used for anything else. So
We're going to have to wrap this up, but Reverend Pritchard, is there anything you can do? You had
Oh,
mentioned
yeah,
something
I
about trying
asked
to
him
help
to give
him.
me a call. We're going to get a coalition together, and we try to do something about that. That's unheard of. You have a building sitting there not being used, and you have youth who need to use the building. So
And that's the kind of red tape that we get involved
Yeah.
with trying to get things done
I
also.
agree. Whatever I can do to help too, let me know.
Yes, sir.
And that's what we want to do, and we'll do some more on this show about solutions, and maybe we should all get together and form a coalition. I know I talked to Eddie that you turned me on to, who used to be a boxer. Now he got his life better, and he said he'd be willing to do anything to go out and help
Right.
other boys in the black community, because Kevin turned his life around. He's about 27 now, isn't he?
yes.
This is Dianne Andrews. I want you all to come right back after we take this short break, and let's listen to our new state representative, Denise Marcel, talk about some body cameras and other issues in the black community. Thanks very much. Come on back. Welcome to Dianne Andrews in Black and White. Thanks for tuning in to us today, and if you missed us tuning in, don't forget to DVR if you happen to be out of town or watch us on YouTube. I'm very happy to have a very distinguished guest with us today, Councilwoman C. Denise Marcel. She is from District 7 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So we're happy to have you here.
Thanks for inviting me.
You're very, very welcome. Denise does a lot of things around the community. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her because she epitomizes what Dianne Andrews in Black and White is about. She is a woman from humble beginnings, but she didn't let that stop her. She went on to Capitol High School, and then she went on in 1977 to graduate from Capitol, and then went on and got her BA in criminal justice from Southern University. And she decided, I want to be a notary. In December of 2000, she finished that at the LSU school. But she's so active, not only in being a councilwoman, but she's very active in the community. She's the director of the community outreach for Gordon McKernan. She works with the Salvation Army. She works with the Dumas House. She works on our convention and tourist bureau. But I think right now we're going to talk more about her being a part of the body camera for our police officers, which just that test 100 test cameras was just put into effect yesterday. So tell us about your journey in helping making this happen, and tell us what do you think it's going to do for the city of Baton Rouge and our police force and your constituents.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for introducing me so eloquently.
Oh, thanks, Denise.
Love it.
Thanks.
But the cameras, the body cameras, that's
Right.
what we're here to talk about. I started working on this almost a year ago,
Right.
really before any of the national attention was really drawn to it. Just so happened in the middle of me working on it, the things start to happen throughout the nation. So that gave more credibility to what I was saying. So people bought into the idea of, yes, we probably need the body cameras. At least a lot of them did. So it's been a long journey.
Right.
It's taken a while, but I think I'm really excited about the fact that we have 100 body cameras, all because of the push that I made on the Metro Council to make that happen.
Right, Silky Slim was on, he's a regular guest on the show, and we talked about what you had done in the community with pushing for the body cameras. And I think you are the commissioner of that body camera committee.
Well, I serve as the chair.
Right? The
yeah,
chair.
I serve
Right.
as the chair of the body camera committee, and real proud of the work that I've been able to do with the chief and the other members of the committee.
In fact, I'm very happy to say Chief Davity will be a part of this show. We're interviewing Denise separately, and we're going to interview some other people as a part of this being Black, White, and Blue show. How does it feel to be a policeman walking while you're black and also walking while you're white in the cities around here? Because our show, we take national issues and we bring local people in to talk about them, but I have someone coming in later this month from doing an entrepreneurial show from Seattle, Washington. I have a lot of people come in from all over to do the show.
That's great.
So what made you tell me what you think this is going to do for us in the city of Baton Rouge?
Well, I think it does a couple of things, Diane. It gives transparency to the police department. It says that we're not doing anything wrong, and it gives a sense of security to the constituents. So I believe it's a twofold issue, where it protects the policeman when someone says they've done something wrong.
Right.
It also protects the average citizen when they've said that the police have wronged them in any manner. And so I think it's a win-win. It's a no-brainer for me.
Right.
We all want to hold our police officers to a higher standard because
Right.
they're for public safety, and that's why we have them. Right. So I see this as a great opportunity for our communities to grow together. And in other cities where it's been implemented, it has shown that the rate of police brutalities have gone down, and those types of claims of police brutality have gone down. And also, it has been able to vindicate police officers where they were wrongfully accused of something. So again, I don't know why anyone would have a pushback to it. I'm certainly really excited about the 100 cameras, but as you know, I pushed for the entire department to have
and
those
it was a
cameras.
financial consideration. I understand from what I had read that we need to first do the 100 and see how much it's going to cost us. But what's safety worth? I guess.
Well, let me say that was the sentiment of some of my colleagues. It wasn't my sentiments. My sentiments was then, the money, and it is now. That we have to prioritize this issue, because rather than us paying a lawsuit for someone shooting and killing someone, I would rather spend that money on protecting everyone, both the police officers and absolutely the citizens. So we have to look at the amount of dollars that we have spent on excessive use of force.
How many police officers are there in the parish? Do you know, or in the city of Baton Rouge?
We have 400 officers that we're trying to outfit right now. There are additional officers that's added to that number, but it was actually, I think, 400 patrol units that I am attempting to put a body camera on each and every one of them. Then we'll extend that. Anyone who comes into contact on an everyday, ordinary basis with the citizens is the people that we want with the body cameras, because we want to know what happened and we want to see it through black and white.
That's right. Then we definitely want to see it in black and white. And that's what the show is all about. I always say between black and white, there are always shades of gray.
That's
correct.
How
I end this.
That's correct.
Usually end this show. Is there anything else you would like to leave with us on this interview? I know that I'd love to see you go for a statewide, do some statewide things, and you have higher aspirations, and we hope you get there. But is there anything as being, if you do become one day a statewide position, what do you see as far as the state? What do you think you can do for the state? And I'm talking not just right now, I'm talking long-term future plans.
A couple of things we can do is criminal reform, and that's something that I'm currently working on the city council level. I want to expand that. We incarcerate more people than anyone else in the United States.
I read that.
And we must do something about rehabilitating people rather than incarcerating people. It's causing our taxpayers hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars, but hundreds of thousands right there at Parish Prison. We're shipping people to other
states.
No, we're shipping people
within
right
the
now
state,
within the state, and then we have to go back and get them for court. It just doesn't make any sense financially that you and I are paying that tax bill, and the citizens, we're paying that tax bill. And so we've got to look at how do we address that, both on the city level and absolutely on the state level. I want to do something like that, but also one of my main focuses, if I should ever get to the state, would be a mental health funding for mental health and substance abuse.
Kip, the mayor, when I did the show with the mayor, we talked about that a lot of these criminals are really mentally ill. If we take Lafayette, the person who shot into the Grand Cinema in Lafayette was mentally ill. He was bipolar and schizophrenic. Also in Aurora, Colorado, the first guy who shot up the theater was also mental. He was mental. But I'm going to bring you back, as you were talking about prisons. That's on my list, and I have been investigating. We spend, as a country, about $50,000 a head for a prisoner. But it seems in two-thirds in the country, and two-thirds of the prisoners in prison are for nonviolent crimes.
Absolutely. And so I'm working on that currently.
I'm going to bring you
city
back
council.
for that, Denise.
We could talk about that on another day.
We will.
Those are some of my aspirations, both locally and on the state level.
Good luck, Denise, and I'm on your side.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. From Dianne Andrews.